We have another presentation. This is by Stefan Amaza. Stefan leads internal tooling and productivity at Paystack, where he designs AI-powered systems, automations, and products that enable revenue teams to scale efficiently. He previously built and led Paystack's customer support function, decentralizing operations and reducing backlogs while maintaining industry-leading service quality. With a track record of translating complex cross-functional challenges into simple, high-leverage tools, Stefan works closely with product, engineering, and operations to unlock sustainable, customer-centric growth. Please, with a warm welcome the problem solver at Paystack, Stefan Amaza, to the stage for his presentation. A round of applause for him as he comes up on stage. Thank you so much. Make it louder, louder, louder.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. All right, so today we're going to be talking about AI and how you can leverage AI to 10x your productivity, revenue generation, cost savings, however you find best to apply it to your use case. So please, when I say 10x here, I'm taking for euphemism for significant growth. It mustn't exactly be 10x, but using AI, there are different ways that we can improve productivity at the workplace. So going through the agenda, we'll talk about what AI is and what isn't. We'll talk about 3 specific use cases. Now, there are endless use cases for how you can apply AI, but there are 3 that I want to speak about that we use at Paystack and I also use personally. And then I'll leave 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers. All right. So, what is AI? There are so many misconceptions about AI, but AI is simply software that learns from data. It's fed so much data, trained on. I don't even know what GPT-5 is on right now, but it's fed with countless data and is able to learn from the patterns in that data to predict, to decide, to generate, and so on. It's simply that. Now, I know there's a lot of fear about what AI can do and what AI can't do, but if you look at it from this lens, it simplifies it significantly. But also at the same time, AI is not some magic wand that solves everything. It's a tool, right? So there are businesses that have been marketing their solutions based on, you have this, you won't need to hire people. I personally don't think that is the way to use AI. For example, Klarna, I think last year, they laid off about 1,200 of their support staff because AI was here and it could do the work faster. But in June, just a couple of months ago, they had to rehire more than 700 of them because while it was coming with a lot of cost savings and speed, it wasn't given the same quality. I think the perfect intersection is when you use people, but allow them to use AI to enhance their work. So let's talk about some use cases and how we have used AI at Paystack. So the first use case is using AI for data discovery, data analysis, right? And this is something that I think most businesses can relate to because businesses sit on tons of data. And for most businesses, the problem is not that the data doesn't exist. The problem is making sense of that data, right? But with AI, you can feed that data to a system, to a model, and through those patterns, it can give you information that makes sense. With AI, you can use natural language to ask questions of that data, and through that, you can find growth pockets. You can find businesses that are actually ripe for expanding your products, your product offering with. You can find businesses that are at risk of churning because you have fed them businesses on your platform. And sorry, I'm using businesses because I work with a business-to-business company, but let's say customers, right? You can feed them data of, these are the customers that have churned in the last 3 months, and have that AI system look at your entire customer base and see if there are similar signals with some businesses that are still on your platform so that you can go ahead of that and stop them from churning. So with AI, you're able to act faster, generate more revenue, lower the cost to serve your customers, and keep happy customers. So here is how we did it at Paystack. So Data Party is an amazing Slack bot that our data team built together with our engineering team to allow the rest of us ask questions to our data. So I'll give like a bit of background here. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Metabase, but Metabase is a platform that you can connect your database to, and it gives you an interface to ask questions, allows you to create dashboards, and so on. But the problem was that you needed to know SQL, which is structured query language that we use to talk to databases. And not everybody is a programmer or a data scientist. So it was always a problem where the data team was being asked, can you create a query to help me find so and so information? Now, with Data Party, what the team did is that they created a system that was fed with a lot of context on Paystack data. So it knows what we consider a good success rate. It knows what a fraud ratio is, right? And this is something that ideally, if you were just to go and ask ChatGPT, yes, it can write a query for you, but it will not write it in the context of what we need because it doesn't have that information. And what they did behind the scenes is give ChatGPT that context, connect it with Slack's API, conversational AI, and you can go and say something like this: who are the merchants with 50% decline? And I can't show you the results because it's real merchant data, but it will literally, within less than a minute, go through our data and either give me a list or it will give me an SQL query that I can then go and run on Metabase and get the information I need. Now, here are some interesting ways that I've seen people use this at Paystack. Okay, before I go there, sorry. So business value for this, like I mentioned, you don't need to ask the experts. You have the ability to find the data yourself, which then frees our data team to work on actually interesting problems. Generates SQL queries for us and converts it from one form to the other if you wanted to. Another thing that I find that is pretty cool is that you can ask it for information, and instead of it just give you the query, it will tell you that somebody has created a dashboard that gives you that information. So you can go, and there's a dashboard. Maybe you want to find out something about refunds, and there's already a dashboard that has been created by the data team where you can see so much information about refunds and much more, right? And again, democratizes data expertise to everyone. So use cases. I've seen the customer support team, a business maybe has gone to the Paystack dashboard and they're trying to export, and maybe their data is just too large that the request is timing out. And the customer support team is able to just go ask Data Party, can you give me this information for this merchant? And define the parameters and get it, right? I've seen a product manager ask it to translate an SQL query he had to a Redshift version. So Redshift is another database, and got that in seconds. Like I was in the office when this was happening, and he was like literally screaming because he came back from sabbatical and found this bot, and like to him it has changed his life. I've seen the revenue team ask Data Party to identify merchants whose revenue is declining so that they can reach out proactively and find out what's happening. Typically, those would happen much later, maybe when the merchant has left completely, but then now we're able to see patterns quicker. I've seen the revenue team again upload a list of businesses on a spreadsheet and say which of these businesses are not on the Paystack platform so that they will know where to concentrate their efforts, right? So again, this is just an example of how with AI, you're able to do much more even with the same team size or less. All right, let's move to another use case, using AI for automating routine tasks. Now, I'm sure all of us can relate to tasks that are absolutely necessary for you to do, but they're just endless. You have to do them every day, every week. takes a lot of your time, doesn't really add to your knowledge, but you need to, share that or do that every time. For me, it's a report. Like there are certain projects we're working on that have to give regular reports, and it's just a pain, right? And AI can help with automating this simple repetitive task, saving you a lot of time and effort. And of course, just like with the data party example, you now have more time to work on rewarding high impact tasks, right? So automating routine tasks, you get faster resolutions, again, lower costs to serve your customers, and again, leading to happier customers. So let me give another example, which is deal autopsy, which was a tool created by a colleague of mine, Yanis, on the revenue operations team. And basically what this tool does is it creates a very comprehensive document on whatever business you want it to. And how it does this is, again, using the power of OpenAI's APIs, it's able to pull context from Slack, from emails, from notes on Notion, from notes on Pipedrive, and consolidate it into one report for the team. So maybe Shola, our CEO, wants to know what's happening with that MTN deal. That is something that if you had not done ahead of time, you'd be panicking, right? But also you have so much that you're doing. But with deal autopsy specifically, within 5 minutes, someone on the team is able to generate a very comprehensive report that goes really in depth, even up to next, even giving you suggestions on what you can do next based on the context of the information it has pulled. Now, the business value for something like this, is immense. Very comprehensive reports because you are pulling from as many resources as possible, and that's happening automatically. To be honest, like if I'm doing that myself, there'll be one or two things that I might miss out on, but because everything is already pulled together, it's pulling that information, and then all you have to do is like refine it. Now, remember what I said in the beginning. The use of AI, personally, I don't think it's about relying on it to do all the work and then you move on. It's about enhancing your work. So you're working hand in hand. You have a sense of what you want it to do, and you're giving it the parameters to do so. And then you are also reviewing it to see that it has done what it's meant to do. And you're also adding the context that you only will have because of your experience, right? Again, saves you time because it's giving you quick reviews, giving you what are the next steps you can carry on, what are the agreed dates. Again, arranging everything that would have taken you hours and hours and time. Now, this is the tool I'm talking about is the tool that we just started using, but with a tool like that will allow you to pull context from different tools that you're connected to, the possibilities are endless. We can set it to look at specific Slack channels because we have Slack channels. We Slack heavily at Paystack, and we also use Slack not just within Paystack, but also to communicate with some of our merchants, right? So for some of those channels, your biggest merchants, it can pull in information and give you a recap weekly on what is happening, right? Or extending that, can connect it to any type of system that you're really communicating, whether it's email and so on, get a sense of like what are the feature requests that people are talking about? What are the things that seem to be a point of confusion for people? Again, pull out signals for you to improve your product or your service. Again, support, extend it, whether you're using like Front or Zendesk or whatever, you can connect it as well, pull out the themes because it's pattern recognition, right? And again, if it's able to generate such a comprehensive document, you can ask it questions and it can pull out the answers from the same pool of knowledge that is generating that document from. Now, to the last one, so far I've been talking about custom integrations, but let's bring it to something that is much simpler, your everyday tools. Now, I felt it was very important to talk about this because for some people, there's still like a sort of stigma around using AI. And I'm hoping that by the time we go through this, the stigma is no longer there or is not as strong. And it's using your everyday tools that have AI components. Now, I know that there are tools that have AI and it's just annoying. Like, why does he have AI? But there's some tools that it does have AI and I'm happy it does. For example, Zoom Companion. I'm somebody that likes to take notes when I'm in a meeting, but sometimes I get so into the meeting that I lose track of what's happening, right? And I have something in the background that is taking meeting notes that will point out all the points that I couldn't have gotten by myself. And then when I'm compiling the final notes, I have two sources to dig from. These are like my own thoughts as the ones I was able to take. And then here is a comprehensive summary of what happened for me to pull from again. So ChatGPT style assistants, you can use it to do like the bare bones skeleton of what you want to do and then build upon it. You can use it to summarize, to rewrite. If you are a programmer, you know Copilot is like really, really, really helpful. You can use, even if you're not using it to write your code, you can use it to write your PRs, your commit messages. I use ChatGPT a lot to figure out where my errors are. And sometimes it's just something so obvious, but because like I'm using something that is using pattern recognition, it's able to pull it out. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the very important thing is that you work with guardrails. The point, at least at this point that AI is at, the point is not that you just tell it what to do and you go your merry way. The first thing is that know exactly the kind of output that you're looking for. Unless like you're brainstorming, which is fine, but even when you're brainstorming, you know where you want to get to at the end. What is the outcome you want? Guide it as much as possible with your prompts. And by prompts, I mean the instructions you're entering into the chat box, right? Test. Honestly, like test a lot. Because depending on how exact your query is, what you could get might be very close to what you want, but not exactly what you want. But by testing and seeing what you've gotten, you can nudge it in the right direction, right? And then allows you to work faster, reiterate, and build and ship faster. So a business value for this, obviously, increased productivity, which I've spoken about in the previous examples. But one, again, that people might not know is standards and consistency. If you're able to define standards, this is how I write, or this is how I write my reports, or this is how we write code, then you can pass subsequent work through that template that you have set, and you can see where you are falling short, what you need to improve. Again, faster time to market because you're able to reiterate quickly, you're able to improve much more quicker, and onboarding and knowledge retention because now you've fed your information to a system. New people, I don't know, all of us have had the experience of joining a company anew, and you know how it can be very scary finding the answers you need. But you have a system that is already trained with context. Then your new employees, people who have switched to new roles, new positions, they have somewhere to go to get the answers that they need. All right, so I'm gonna stop here, and I will leave room for any questions.
Any questions, please?
We have one in the front. Hi.
Hi, thank you for this session. So, based on everything you spoke about, what jumped at me is the Slack, in the bots for Slack. Is that open to other organizations or is unique to Paystack alone?
Oh no, it's not open to other organizations. Maybe that's something I can find out, but it's very internal, and it's also the very first version. We just released it like maybe 2 months ago. So yeah, we're still in version 1. Maybe a year from now. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, hand over
There's
there.
one at the back. No, hold on, they're bringing a mic.
Thank you, Steve. My question regarding building out the spots. I mean, one of the craziest points is the connections part, right? Because you have multiple different data points. Some of them, what I want to find out, right, is did this have to do with any MCP architecture, or was it something like, because again, sometimes your data engineers or you have to pull out some people to tweak things at the end. And if you are going to use maybe data architectures that have MCPs, token costs become a problem,
Yeah.
right? So my question is, for companies who are non-technical people, especially who need to start this, what's the easiest way? Like not as maybe advanced as what you have, but what's the easiest way to get started? If I'm going to put
Yeah,
it that way.
that's a great question, and I contemplated putting that in the report, in the presentation, but I was not sure we would have the time. So if you want to get started and you don't have like a complicated stack, you don't have engineers, there are tools out there that are much easier to work with. I think like one of the most common known ones is Zapier. So Zapier.com, Zapier. With Zapier, it allows you to connect one app to the other. And it's been around since before like the lift off of AI, but like they have OpenAI as an integration, and you can, connect different apps. Another one is N8N. 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 It's like Zapier, but it was built natively for AI. So with Zapier, if they don't have the integrations you need, then you probably have to use like API, like an API integration. Like it's complicated, but with N8N, you can create your integration like with natural language, and it will help you connect to whatever service you want to connect to. The
We
third
have-
one.
Okay.
The third one is I will mention is Retool, and these are all like major internal tools. And I'm an internal tooling guy, so these tools are low code tools or no code tools. Retool is low code, so by no code it means you don't need to know how to code at all. There's like interfaces, drag and drop for you to build what you need. So N8N, Zapier, no code. Retool is a little code, low code. So there's still interfaces for you to drag drop, but you might have to write a little bit of JavaScript. But again, power of LLMs, of AI. I've built an app on Retool, not really knowing much programming because, I knew like a little, but most of it was me directing AI to get what I need and nudging it till I got what I needed. So it's low code, but now low code is becoming kind of no code because of AI.
All right, we have one more question over here.
Hello. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Hi,
Very
Paul.
interesting, especially the Slack chatbot. I thought that was really, really brilliant. My question is about policy. Do you guys have some kind of AI policy? Because, there's a lot of, privacy concerns, when,
Yeah.
especially if you are feeding it client data.
Yeah.
And one client finds out, and before you know
Yeah.
it, it's a whole thing. What kinds of policies do you have for your internal staff to guide them on their usage? What kinds of do's or don'ts do you have in that regard?
Yeah, that's also really, really important. And yes, we do. We have like a very, very strong data protection program in Paystack. Tolu, like you can't really mess with data anyhow. So I don't know the specific do's and don'ts because what happens is if we're building anything with AI, we have to pass it through the data protection team, right? Not just building anything, if we're using any sort of AI tool, because the danger with AI is that because it is automated and because it needs a lot of data, if there's a breach, then the chances for things going really wrong is like it's really high. So there's data that we'll never train on. The data that we have access to are like financial data, transaction data, data that we need for everyday operation. Just like how you have like your customer purchase history, but all of that data, again, it depends on the tool. So for certain tools, we'll make sure that we're not passing any personal information, any PII. We also make sure that every use of data that we have is covered by a privacy policy. But yeah, I think like much above that, I have to go through my data protection officer.
All right, thank you very much. I think that's all the questions that we have. Any more questions can be taken at the mix.